The Mario Kart Booster Course Pass. Some people love it, some people hate it. Personally, I think it's kinda lazy on Nintendo's end, but over time, I've come to appreciate it more and more. I mean, you can't really go wrong with 48 new retro tracks in an already perfect game, so before Nintendo releases like a bajillion more tracks, I might as well rank the tracks that have already been released. I'll mainly be focusing on how these tracks compare to their originals, as well as any other major changes. And before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you aren't already. I make content on a weekly basis, so there's always something to look forward to. Now, Lakitu, would you care to do the honors? Starting off, we have 3DS Toad Circuit. This is the only track in Wave 1 that I wasn't looking forward to. Not because it's a bad track or anything, but it's just too boring. I mean, besides the graphics, almost nothing has changed since its Mario Kart 7 counterpart, and I mean it. There's still a small glide ramp in the middle and a shortcut near the end, and the toad balloons are still floating high, but nothing stands out to me that wasn't already in the original, and it's not like there's anything they could have done without drastically changing the layout. But that only begs the question, why remake this track to begin with? I get it, this track was already in tour and was easy to port over, but I feel like there were better options. Also, Nintendo. Nice job with the textures on this track. You really outdid yourself this time, wow! Tourist Tokyo Blur was not one that I remembered fondly, but after experiencing the remake, I'm glad this track got chosen to come back. It doesn't do anything too crazy or anything, but this one has always stood out to me for some reason. First of all, I think it's really cool that we're racing through the streets of Tokyo. I've always wanted to go to Japan, and while I haven't gotten to do that yet, this kinda gives me a small taste of what it's like. One other thing I forgot to mention, for those who don't already know, Mario Kart Tour tracks contain multiple versions of each course, and instead of choosing just one version of each course to use in Mario Kart 8, each lap is a different version. In other words, each lap is completely different, making each track feel much more varied compared to others. Here, the first lap takes you through the streets of Tokyo, while the second lap takes you to a completely different part of the city, and the third lap takes you onto this highway where you have to dodge swamps and then glide to the finish line. Oh, it's so good! To think that we're only on the second track and they're already this good, the truth is you haven't seen anything yet. I may not have grown up with Mario Kart 64, but I do have fond memories of playing N64 Choco Mountain and Mario Kart DS as a kid. But I barely even recognize this course anymore because of all the changes in Mario Kart 8. For one thing, the mountains actually look like mountains instead of big mud piles. There's also this new cave section and a gliding section afterwards. Most of these additions only change the course aesthetically and don't change the overall layout too much, but even so, this track almost feels like a brand new course. The developers made some quality of life improvements, but didn't deviate from the original design, which is exactly how all retro tracks should feel. The only thing that could be seen as a negative is the music. The remix is fine, but there is no way they were ever going to top that sweet N64 tune. Like with Choco Mountain, GBA Sky Garden was one I played a ton of in Mario Kart DS. This was actually one of the tracks that I wanted to see get remade the most, and boy am I sure glad they did. This track got the complete makeover treatment similar to Cheeseland and Ribbon Road. The layout has been kept relatively the same, but a ton of new elements have been added to keep things interesting. For example, there's this new shortcut on these vines, there's a mushroom that you have to bounce on, and the elevation this time around has gone wild to accommodate for a new gliding section at the end. Overall, the changes do make things feel pretty different, but I can still tell that this is Sky Garden. This is another retro track done right, and there really isn't anything else I'd want to change about it. Out of all the tracks I've previously mentioned, none of them come close to the amount of nostalgia I have for DS Shroom Ridge. In fact, I still remember the day this track was announced to be coming to Mario Kart 8.
Shroom Ridge! They're finally remaking Shroom Ridge! Oh my gosh!
Ah, good times. Now you might look at this track and think, that looks kind of simple. And you'd be right, but once you play this track for the first time, it moves you. There's something about those tight turns and fast-moving vehicles that makes this course special. I know I'm really nostalgic for this track, but even before this track was remade, I still held it in high regard. So what does this track do to stand out from the original? Well, there's a secret glide ramp about halfway through, and there's another shortcut near the end with this fan thingy, and that's really it. Aside from the obvious improvements to the graphics, this course is almost nearly identical to the DS version. But personally, I don't really mind that at all. This track is special to me and I'll always hold it close to my heart. Whether Nintendo tries to keep it the same or change everything about it, I really won't care because... come on, it's Shroom Ridge. Also, this remix slaps. Mario Kart Wii is another very special game to me, and one of my favorite tracks from that game is Coconut Mall. In my eyes, Coconut Mall is one of those tracks that'll never be bad no matter how many changes are made to it. But Nintendo sure tried. I guess we might as well get the elephant out of the room. This remake isn't that good. Okay, maybe that's not the best term to use, but it's very underwhelming compared to all the other ones we've talked about. First of all, where am I? There are absolutely no trace of your Miis whatsoever on this course. They're not in the cars, or on the sidelines, or even on the cool little posters. And speaking of the cars, what happened out there? The cars don't even move anymore. You don't even spin out if you crash into them. They're just there for the sake of being there. And by gosh, what's with the textures in the mall? Everything looks so bland and uninteresting. I can get behind Nintendo being lazy on other tracks. I mean, I don't think there's any strictly Toad Circuit fanboys out there, but why'd they have to do this to Coconut Mall? They really didn't do this track justice and just ended up angering fans. Now you might be wondering, if I have all these things to complain about, why is this track at the number 3 spot? Well, it's like I said earlier. No matter how much Nintendo tries to screw this course up, it's still okay. There's definitely a lot more going on in this track compared to most others, so at least it has that going for it. At the end of the day, this is still Coconut Mall, but just a really mediocre version of it. So I was thinking that maybe as a joke, I would talk about this track in French, since it is located in Paris and I do speak a little bit of French. But then I realized how complicated that would be, and most people would probably stop watching, and wow, I can't believe I'm putting this in the video. Anyways, Tour's Paris Promenade is one of the most unique courses I've ever played. I guess the first thing to mention is that we're in Paris. There's the Eiffel Tower, and the Arc de Triomphe, and the Luxor Obelisk. Okay, not gonna lie, I don't actually know what that last one is. But the point is, this track is very faithful to the city it's based on, and like with Tokyo Blur, this track also changes up quite a bit with each lap. Hell, on the third lap you drive through the entire track backwards, which actually works better than you'd think. It's really cool passing all the racers in last place because it makes you feel all badass. The entire course is filled with so much charm and really focuses on the little details. Like, sometimes I forget that this is even a tour track because of how good it looks. I really hope that any other tour tracks that come over do as good a job as Paris Promenade, because this course is just phenomenal. So just like any other human being who's ever ranked Wave 1 of the Booster Course Pass before, I have to put Tour's Ninja Hideaway at number 1. I never played this track in Tour when it was available, so this was the first place I got to experience it. And hey, I wasn't expecting too much from a Tour track I'd never heard of, but after playing it for the first time, this is incredible! This track has so much going on, it's insane! There's so much going on that I don't even know how to describe it all. So first you cross this bridge and go into this ninja house filled with all these cool decorations, then the path splits up with one of them taking you all the way to the ceiling, then there's all these ninja stars that go up and down and you have to drive around them, and then there's this gliding section that takes you really high in the air and you can either choose to go on the road or up in the rafters, then you're on this roof doing tricks and making tight turns all around, and before you know it, the track is over and you've just had one hell of a Mario Kart experience. There are so many split paths and shortcuts on this track that every single race feels brand new. Like, I found several new shortcuts while getting footage for this video alone. That is something to be praised. This track is easily one of the best in the entire series, and we should consider ourselves lucky that this track has been preserved for generations to come. Hey, thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to stick around for when I rank all of the tracks in Wave 2, if it never comes out. In the meantime, why not watch my predictions for the rest of the Booster Course Pass? And don't forget to like and subscribe so that other people can find this video as well. That's all for today, so I'll see you all again real soon. Goodbye.